It is time for another POS Uncensored. I'm Nate Manahan from Indianapolis, Indiana. On the other side of Indianapolis, the man, the myth, the legend, the POS pro himself, Mr. Matt Proctor. Mr. Proctor, how are you, sir, on this beautiful 3/23/23?
Doing well, my friend. Doing well. Looking forward to the Sweet 16. We got some great matchups. Unfortunately, we don't have any of my Indiana teams involved, but that's okay. It's going to be an exciting weekend.
The Indiana teams just choked on an egg in the first weekend, and so
it took me about 3 days to recover, so I'm better now.
It was not a good start. All right, but hey, March Madness, the madness of March, it keeps going on. It keeps rolling, no matter whether you're watching basketball or you're selling deals with PayProTec. And today we're talking Retail Cloud. Retail Cloud is the retail solutions to help you your retail businesses grow. And my best pitch that I can give you that a Retail Cloud is, man, I've walked into the NHL. I walked a couple of the NHL stores that they run. Man, it is a smooth service. I highly recommend checking out Retail Cloud. But Matt, let's start. We've talked all hospitality since we've relaunched POS Censored. Tell me about what this the premise. This isn't all just about retail, this isn't a show this specifically on Retail Cloud, but what are the first things that make a retail system, and then as we go into Retail Cloud?
Yeah. Well, and so with retail, we talk retail is so different than obviously food and beverage. And the number one priority is usually inventory, making sure it has good inventory management. Maybe that's wholesaling versus retailing. Geez, can't talk. Or if that's transferring from warehouse to multi-locations, and then detailed reporting, being able to manage those reports, get alerts, updates, things like that, because it's a complete different software that you need for, let's say, a liquor store than you need for O'Charlie's, based on bottle deposits and, lottery and things like that. And with all things retail, we really find a perfect solution in a home with Retail Cloud. Everything from our small merchants up to, like you said, NHL stadiums, NBA stadiums. If any of your golf fans out there, the Retail Cloud just installed Augusta National, which is where the Masters tournament is getting ready to be played in a couple weeks. So, I mean, they do everything from that large scale environment where they can have kiosks, even you're ordering from your seat, all these different fun things, down to our mom and pop single station. I want a PAX E700 and a barcode scanner, whatever it might be. And Retail Cloud covers all of that, which is what we're going to walk through today. Some of the many features they have. They have some apps that we're going to talk about that you don't see with most retail systems. So they are extremely competitive in the market, and they are now worldwide.
Love it. So the first thing it says that it appeals to an enhancing customer relationship. Obviously, that can be true in both hospitality, food and beverage, but also in retail. But Retail Cloud really focuses on their ability to link everything together that the customer is doing with them. Can you walk us through a little bit of that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this is even more important in the retail environment than the restaurant, because how many times have you had a punch card for a place, or you're part of the membership at CVS or whatever? You got your cards for everywhere. And that's a big thing that Retail Cloud does extremely well. So their CRM, the customer database, with all the history of every time they've been there, VIP and club pricing, there's marketing capabilities involved, email receipts. They also have an add-on where they can do texting if that's something they want to, be aware of. They have an interactive customer-facing display. That's a big deal too, where they can actually do marketing on that, where it says, come back and see us Thursday. We've got such and such items are going to be on sale. Okay, so having that interaction, and it's really about growing the business. It's not just ringing people up. In retail, it's about getting them to come back to your store compared to the store down the street. We've done feed stores, boutiques, international grocery. This is not meant for a full-blown Kroger or Publix or whatever, but we do a lot of international grocery stores. We've done butcher shops, things like that, where you're walking up and you're ordering and paying right there, but you want to enhance that customer experience. Get them back in the door, Nate.
There we go. Well, then also let's talk about at the POS, all the things that you can do. Now, it's interesting. That is not a Retail Cloud that we're showing in the picture there. I have to notice. I didn't create these slides, but interesting. But it can do a lot of things at the POS.
Software. Yeah, Nate, I think that's their software, and they're using it with the customer's existing hardware.
Okay. Hey, look at that.
That's why they put it on here. Yeah, because they can work with people's existing hardware.
That's it. Okay. Well, that was what was confusing to me just a little bit, but I'll let you go through a couple of these slides here. But the point, what you can do from the POS versus what you can do from the back office. Why is the POS, this is a convenience store, is very important to be able to do that right there.
Absolutely. And it's a cloud-based system. So the fact that they do have cloud access from anywhere is great. So they can pull up on their phone, they can add something, change a button, whatever it might be. But it's very nice in this C-store environment. We're talking about a fast-paced convenience store, that they need to quickly adjust the price of an item. They need to quickly do a random discount that the tobacco companies came out with. They can quickly do that right from the POS. It is permission-based, so it's up to the management and the owner of the establishment to decide if they want their brand new cashier they just hired on board to do these things, or if it's going to be secure and it's going to make them get a manager for approval. One thing I like about this picture and why this system is so great for convenience stores, that big old scanner right there, that's not a normal barcode scanner. That's a driver's license ID scanner. And that's very important for a lot of our liquor stores and convenience stores if they're selling tobacco or alcohol. So not only does it scan all the items, their Cheetos and Doritos and gum, but it also scans their ID and show if it's valid or if it's expired or if it's fake, things like that. So that's just a common feature that we sell and utilize all the time with Retail Clouds, that driver's license scanner show.
All right. And next, we have got all the things you can manage with your employees.
Yeah, and this is kind of a must now with any POS. You guys hear us talk about it all the time. Employees being able to clock in and clock out, take their breaks when they need to, track what their sales are. If they're doing commissions, guess what? They can do it right through Retail Cloud, have commissioned items. They can do either password-based or just a 4-digit PIN if they want to be faster. And just knowing who's doing what, who's ringing up what. An employee did a void or a comp. The management, the ownership wants to know who did that. And they can track all that per employee, run the reports for their payroll. They can generate reports so they can automatically send it to the payroll company like Paychex or ADP at the end of the month. So it really just combines that all in one to make it easier for the owners and their team.
All right. And next, we have...
You ever see 4 kids so happy that they're working at the gas station?
Well, hey, absolutely. Inventory, you can deal with a lot. Like we talked about this when we talked about Paradise last week. but being able to see your inventory in retail is extremely important. And how does Retail Cloud handle that?
Yeah, no, this is huge. And we're going to talk about this more once we get into their inventory app as well. And I don't know if it's in another slide, but their inventory alert management is huge. And there are so many retail POSs that don't do that, and it drives me nuts. Okay, if I'm at a liquor store and I'm selling Kendall Jackson wine and we sell out every week, well, guess what? I want to know if I'm selling out on Tuesday or if I'm got plenty of inventory to the rest of the week. Alert management for all their inventory is huge. It's not just on inventory, but being able to run a report and see, okay, I'm not selling as much as these little peeps for Easter that I did last year. Maybe I need to cut back on that next order I'm supposed to place for next week because I know what's selling, what's not selling. What are my COGS, my cost of goods sold, margin analysis. That's a big thing for retail. Having my cost of goods in the Retail Cloud system so that it shows my profit margins. Is my pricing wrong on certain items that I need to change and adjust? So that's where a system like this is critical for any true retail business. That inventory is such a standard. They have to have good inventory.
All right. So why to choose us? First, they say it's simple to implement, but I mean, any retail, let's just kind of take a step back on that for a second. With a retail POS, which is harder to implement and install, a retail or food and beverage, and why?
Oh, that's a loaded question, Nate, but I
Okay.
love it. That's a good question. Ideally, retail would be easier because there's a file upload, which obviously Retail Cloud and their support team assist with, where as long as we have their entire SKU list and all their different items, categories, things like that, pricing, then they can do what's called smart import. A quick, simple, couple minutes, and import that entire database really into their software. Okay, so ideally, it's simpler in the retail world because you don't have all the modifiers and the sub modifier groups that you have at like a breakfast and lunch diner. Because the modifiers are really what can bog down a system and make it much more harder for programming on the restaurant side. So retail, though, it should be fairly simple. The only hiccups we ever run into with that is if it's not in the right format. And then, Retail Cloud is very good. They get involved with the owner and let them know maybe there's an extra zero, or something. They need to readjust the format so that it can be uploaded correctly. And then once they have that in there, when it comes to adding or changing an item, that's extremely easy. They go through that in training with this white glove implementation they mentioned here, where they can schedule out times with Retail Cloud to be on the phone with them, to screen share with them, to make sure they understand what's happening. And, white glove is included in all of our bundles. So we pay for white glove with every one of our merchants. If for some reason they do have existing hardware they just bought and they want to use that, we still have to pay for that white glove for Retail Cloud to be able to work with and support that hardware and to be able to implement everything. But for all the agents out there, it's included in all of our bundles. So it's doesn't have to be paid for separately. And yeah, it's just, they do a great job. It's not as simple as some of our other systems. I'll warn everyone right now. You guys know I'll always be honest with you. But once it's up and running, everyone loves it. Once we get through that first few weeks and get them really up and going and everything's loaded, they're scanning stuff, they're good. They're golden. We've got them for years.
All right. So let's talk about what everybody always asks. Does it do cash discounting, dual pricing? Let's talk about that. I mean, you can tell me other things, but I think the next slide here, I'm going to kind of talk, I think shows how they do it and do it correctly in the dual pricing world. But you can share about that, Matt.
Yeah. But of course, we will not support and bring on a point of sale system that can't go through EPX Direct as well as support cash discount or edge pricing. So they do it extremely well. They do it at the item level, which is how it should be done. And they've got an example here of two different receipts where it actually breaks it down to the item level, whether they're paying card or cash. It builds in, and I know it's too hard to see on here, the item's $50 that they're paying cash. If it's credit card, it's automatically built in at the item level up to 52. It also can show that it will show this on the screen facing the merchant as well. If you the next slide, Nate, it shows on the customer facing display so they can see right there the card price versus the cash price. Because we have some merchants around the country that They just want to be able to verbally say it. So they want their employee to look down. They're pulling out a credit card like, hey, it's this amount, or they've got the nice customer display right there. So they can see right there they have an option. They're going to save money if they pay cash, or they're paying X price with card. So, and this is something they've been doing for a long time. They can program multiple different ways. If you have a merchant that wants to do traditional cash discounting where they want to mark everything up to credit card price and have it go down 4%, absolutely, they can program for that too. Kevin and his team and Rupak are very flexible, very, very smart guys, and they can adjust this programming as needed, which is awesome.
That is awesome. So they also do a huge amount of online integration, which became really important during COVID because people didn't want to walk in or couldn't walk into stores, especially C-stores, liquor stores, things like that. But the online integration, they have a lot of opportunities and ways to do that.
Yeah. And they do this internally. They go through Equid, which is one of the largest online really gateways in the world. So Equid's worldwide. They can connect to certain ones. We get that question all the time. They've already got Shopify. Can they use Retail Cloud? It can. It's just going to be costly because there is a cost to be able to integrate with that other company and be able to still have Retail Cloud and the inventory for online talk to the actual brick and mortar POS. So ideally, we'd want it all to go through just Retail Cloud directly. They do online ordering extremely well. Obviously, you have to connect the inventory. They need to know when things are being sold online. It's deducting that from their inventory in store and vice versa. So that if they run out of something, it will be unavailable online, and same thing in the store. Excuse me. They do that really well, and I think their pricing is really great. I've seen online ordering with other retail systems easily be at $100 to $200 a month, depending on how many items and things they have. So I think their pricing is extremely competitive. It will show them in a minute, but it mentions here Zebra label printers. That's a big deal. We have a lot of merchants that want to print their own barcodes. Absolutely. That's a common thing. We can connect right with that Zebra label printer. They can format it how they want. And then we do a lot of A920s with Retail Cloud. They use that as a line buster. And all of you that are listening to this, I'm sure are familiar with A920s and the size and the little printer paper on it. Around the holiday season, we almost run out of A920s because there's so many of our liquor stores and other busy retail environments that want to have one of those and want to be able to walk around and do a line buster and take a quick order in line, take their payment, get them out the door. All right. Or they want that to be on 4G because they've got internet issues. So the internet goes down. I can't run that payment on the POS. Guess what? I can run all my payments right there on the A920. So that's a big deal as well.
Perfect. And other apps. So you briefly mentioned a little bit about this, but they have several apps that you can download to your iOS or Android device. How about Engage?
Yeah, so this is I've sold Retail Cloud for years, but I can't tell you how many merchants I've sold just on the app capabilities that they can't get with any other retail. So, and we're going to talk about a few of them. The Engage, actually, it's kind of renamed now. It's more like the owner's app. This is all their analytics in real time. So they have an app on their phone. Doesn't matter if they have an Android, iOS, whatever phone, Google Pixel, however many phones are out there now, except a flip phone, not a flip phone. But they can pull up on their actual phone.
You can do a flip phone now. Those Android flip phones.
That's right.
Android can even do a flip phone.
So. But being able to see that breakdown by the minute of exactly what is selling in real time in your store, what are the tender type breakdowns? What of my regulars in my CRM have been coming in today? How are my analytics going as far as my profit margins and things like that? Okay, I'm selling a ton of these, but this is my much lower margin. Everything an owner would want to need and look at right there through an app on their phone without going to, let's say, the back office. They can still do that too. They can sit at home on their computer and go in and add new buttons and items and add new employees all remotely as well. But this is just for the reporting and details of the business. Okay. So now let's move on because the most important app that there is, I think, is coming up right after this.
Oh, yep. Inventory.
So this is a big selling point with this system. I no longer have to have a super expensive, like $2,500 inventory gun. And you guys have all seen them. If you've been in any grocery store in the United States or other stores where they've got that big old inventory scanner. Okay. I've used it in liquor stores before. I was a wine director for this big chain of liquor stores, and I would take that gun around, have to scan in items, see where it was in inventory, see if I need to get more from the warehouse, whatever it might be. They do all that through an app on the phone. It's free. It's up to the owners to decide how many of their employees they want to have access to this. So they can have their managers with this app. It can scan in and receive products. So when the truck's coming in, boom, 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 I scan right in that. I can add products. So I just brought in a new line. I just walk right over to the aisle on my phone, scan it, boom, here's the name, here's the price, here's what it cost me, here's what I want to charge. I just added an item in the POS. They can also do that from the actual POS. They're just standing up there in front. They don't have to go to the back office. They can add a whole new button. Okay. So that's such a big deal. They want to check where the price is. They want to check where it is in storage. You know, it says in our system that we've got 5 of these, but Johnny can't find him in the back. Well, guess what? You can look up and see exactly where it is. That's on shelf 3, you know, in the back dry storage, whatever it might be. So this is a huge selling point to a lot of owners out there because they'll have a POS like some of our other retail systems and say, I want to walk around scanning my inventory. And we either have to say no, or they have to unhook and take like an iPad with them and a scanner that's Bluetooth that may or may not work around the store to try and scan in. It's very cumbersome. It doesn't really work. Retail Cloud, they already got that.
And I've used this in fact, I have this inventory on my phone because I've played with it. It is just so easy and simple to use. And I think why you wouldn't have that every POS, but I know that's a set apart. Anything we missed on this slide, you probably covered most of this.
Yeah, covered most of it. Where we found this even more convenient for owners is when they have multi-locations, especially if they have a warehouse. You know, if they have a warehouse, being able to see what store that inventory is at, you know, is it store 7 or it's at the Main Street store, or if it's in inventory and I want to ask to receive it. I mean, that's stuff that you just don't find with a regular POS. You know, it's normally a desktop computer that's all dusty sitting back in the office and a very detailed retail software to be able to go and look in the warehouse and at all my stores. Okay? That's old school, normal retail. They've taken it to the next level with the apps.
All right, well, let's look at the hardware options now. A variety of PAX devices. I don't know how you want me to walk through these slides, but obviously we know the PAX A920 from lots of our hardware integrations with PAX. I'll let you kind of jump in there and tell me which ones you want me to highlight when we go through them.
Well, just think of it like this, guys. Everything but the 600. As of this point, we've got plenty of A920s. And remember, these all come from Retail Cloud. I want to stress that to anyone who's watching this. If you have an A920 from a merchant or Pay Anywhere, it will not work with Retail Cloud, period. We have to get all hardware programmed and encrypted by them. All right. And we've stressed that with the agents a lot throughout the years, but I just want to say it on here.
Yep.
So A920, the E800 is probably our most popular seller because of the nice big screen, that big customer display. Sorry, Nate. I didn't realize that 600 was on here. So we don't have that. No 600s. We do a lot of 700s. We just did a 700 today that we processed for a new merchant where they limited counter space. They like that little screen and it worked perfectly for them. They do have a few E500s left in stock. We don't see as high demand for those because the screen's a little smaller. People don't care for it as much. But if I need to get a 500, we can through Retail Cloud. And once again, most of you guys are all familiar with that. They do have a new Windows hardware that we don't have a picture of it. It's HP. It's an HP Windows unit. So for those merchants who that's what they prefer, they don't want this all-in-one like E800. They can still do that. This is Android based and Windows based. Those two, not the iOS platform, right? So don't ask questions about iPads or anything like that. Won't work on those devices. So we're leaning on PAX, and if they want that Windows solution, it'll be HP. The price is very similar to the E800. Okay? We have semi-integrated EMV terminals like the PAX S300 right here that work hand in hand with the Windows. Or, you know what? I'm just going to be honest, guys. We've had problems there once in a while. With the E800, the Sage chip reader is not working. All of you sold PAX stuff, you know, every once in a while, there could be an issue. We send an X300. It plugs right in. It works great. And so we can always do an S300 alongside the PAX if we need to. Okay, we mentioned the CR5000 barcode reader. That's a driver's license scanner. Okay, it's not the normal USB like gun scanner that they would get in a bundle. That's an upgrade if they want the driver's license scanner. They can work with their existing deli scanners for the most part. It just depends, as long as that software can be programmed the way the SKU needs to be, Retail Cloud can read it. That's why we've done a lot of butcher shops and things like that. And then obviously the Zebra barcode label printer, that's very important to a lot of our merchants. They're either already doing it or they're like, oh man, I sell all these t-shirts and I bring in stuff and make stuff my own. Yes, that'd be great to make my own barcodes. Perfect. Right here. Perfect. So yeah, everything you need.
And I mean, retail, any POS is only as good as its support. Tell us a little bit about how they do support and what that should look like for the Retail Cloud customers.
Yeah, it's actually unique. They're a little different than some of our other systems because they do have live chat. And there's a live chat button on almost every single screen on that front of the house point of sale. And that connects to someone immediately, and they can quickly type in, how do I do this discount? How do I, and they get an answer right away. They also supply the merchant with tons of videos. And this is different than they used to do in the past. Not only do they schedule these trainings, and they give you a link to their calendar to schedule continuous training if needed, but they've got so many videos and tutorials and all available to the merchant, and they make sure they know where to get access to all those to be able to help with anything. If you guys go on their website, retailcloud.com, same thing. They've got so many videos and tutorials and things like that right there for ongoing support of the merchant. And that's a key thing for them. With COVID, they've gone through ups and downs, just like every POS company, where they, certain times they didn't have as much staff as they'd hoped. But we still always are able to get answers to people. That's where my team comes into play. If your merchant does have an issue, or maybe they can't get anyone on Retail Cloud, let us know. Believe me, I will get every manager and even the owner involved if it need to. And that's where we have that extra layer of support through the POS Pros office.
All right, and that's the end of the last slide. 27 slides, and just roughly.
It wasn't bad. That
roughly
wasn't bad.
23 minutes.
Chopped it around a little bit.
So now here's talking specifically, a lot of these retail places, you'll see, I know the liquor stores that you walk into, a old piece of hardware sitting up front. Kind of, they tricked me in that picture. It was running Retail Cloud, but had an older piece of hardware. How often are people putting all new hardware in, and how often are people working with old, working with old hardware and like a Windows machine, or that they were with someone else? How often are those things happening?
Yeah, it's actually better than it used to be, Nate. So it used to be, I'd say 20% of, especially liquor stores, were wanting to use their old hardware. Now we're down to maybe 5%. I mean, we want them in new hardware, no matter what. We don't know the background of it. We don't know how old it is. We don't know what might be wrong with it. And really, it's not supported. It's under warranty or anything. And so we're actively discussing that and trying to get them new hardware because we want it to be warranted. We want to make sure it's working. And so it's more rare now than it used to be. And really, our promotions, our discounts have actually helped that. Because we do give discounts towards the hardware based on edge pricing and what their volume is. We look at those recent credit card statements to determine how much discount they get. A lot of our merchants, Retail Cloud, are paying next to nothing up front. So if they know they can get a whole new station, a new software, wow, this looks great. This E800 is like bringing me into the 21st century more than my old, liquor POS system, and it's only going to cost me a couple $100 up front. I mean, that's a steal for how nice and new, all this hardware is with the cash drawer, credit card swiper, all that good stuff. So that's helped a lot too. And most of our Retail Cloud merchants, I'd say 99% of them are all doing cash discount, edge pricing in some way. And my team is helping with discounting the hardware.
Perfect. All right. Anything else that we've missed on Retail Cloud? Any last comments, things you want to highlight as we jump off the Retail Cloud cliff and dive into retail even more in the next couple weeks?
Well, I do want to talk about time frame, okay? Because that's one thing we get asked all the time with all of our different systems. Retail Cloud, as I mentioned, with Augusta National and these stadiums and all, it is not as simple, plug in and done as some of our other systems. Okay, it takes some time. The merchant needs to make sure everything's uploaded in there correctly. What needs to be added, employees are added in. Okay, so general time frame from start to finish, paperwork signed to up and live, 3 to 4 weeks. And we need to plan that out. Can it be done faster? Absolutely. But this hardware takes a while to ship. Okay, and it actually gets shipped to Retail Cloud so they can test it. They want to encrypt it, test it, make sure everything's working. Then boom, they ship it out. Okay, that can take a week. Now, during that time, that doesn't mean Retail Cloud is not talking to the merchant, sending the welcome emails. We're sending welcome emails, scheduling time to do some training with them and look at their inventory. But, we ask that the agents have some patience, because this is not just giving them a pay anywhere, okay, or just an easy iPad system. It is more robust. The owners normally understand that, and they know that it's a big change in the retail world. So allow it that time so that they can be successful. And then, you know what? When they're ready to go, they are loving it because they played with it, tested it. They know it's exactly what they want. So 3 to 4 weeks to be safe, guys.
All right. Well, I think we'll be off. For those who regularly watch POS Uncensored, we've seen several of you jump in here live, or you're watching this. We try to do this about every week, but next week I know we'll be off, and I'm not sure when our next schedule runs, because Matt and I didn't talk offline. We'll figure that out. But we have lots more to cover, lots more POS, but make sure you're using the POS Pros team. So if you haven't watched the first video in the POS Uncensored, make sure you're watching that video talking about the POS Pros and how you can use that team, and using Matt and all the things that they can do for you and connect you to, that I promise they will save you hours, if not weeks of time every year, and connect you with more merchants than you ever could believe. You can walk in. How many convenience stores have you walked in, seen them struggling with their barcode reader, scanner, something like that, and know that you could come in and help them and really become, a huge piece of what's going on in their business? It's a great thing, and Retail Cloud is one of those systems that can do it. I think we have some other retail systems we'll cover hopefully sooner rather than later, but we'll get to that. Any closing words, Matt, as we close out our March POS Uncensored episodes?
No. Well, I'll be in Boston next week. For any of you who are in or around the Boston area, I'll be at the NEAA most of next week, Monday through Thursday. So I'd love to meet any of you in person if you happen to be around that show. And Nate, I hope you have a great, spring break with the kids. But yeah, I look forward to getting to know more of you and meet more of you in person, and keep reviewing our systems. And at these shows, it's important because I'm meeting not only with our ISV partners, but with all the other systems that I talk to throughout the year, and looking at on who could be the next great partner. So we'll see what happens at the Northeast show in Boston.
That's it. All right, on behalf of Matt Proctor, I'm Nate Manahan. This has been another episode of POS Uncensored, and we'll see you next time right here on the YouTubes. Make sure you subscribe, like, and be a good friend. We'll see you next time on POS Uncensored. Cheers, guys.
See you.